What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by Bet Online. The Blazers today lose again in a close game, 108-99 to the Indiana Pacers, and fall to 500. The last time they were 500 was before their first game when they were 0-0. And in this game, you saw a lot of problems that have continued to plague this team, and I think it's getting more and more obvious what some of this team's flaws are. Later on in the stream, I plan on going through the final 14 to 16 offensive possessions for the Blazers, as once again, the late game offense doomed them. They missed their last 13 shots and had 2 points in the final 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Offense was supposed to be this team's strength, and lately it hasn't been. We'll get into that. Eric, I'm sure you're frustrated with this game, man. It's just the same things plaguing this team.
Yeah, the freaking turnovers on top of that, too. It's like they can't hit a shot, and they're turning the ball over. I know they only had 7 in the second half, but 18 total for the game. It's killing this team, the amount of stupid passes they have across the court or underneath the basket right to another player, and it gets them off on a fast break. And then we don't get back on those transition baskets either. A couple of those, Dame is back in position and just like gives up on a play, doesn't even contest it either. And it's just a frustrating mix right now.
Yeah, so we're going to cover it all and some of the themes with this team, as this was basically exactly how the Blazers have lost close games lately. But before we get into things, first off, I want to thank our sponsor once again, Bet Online. You can use promo code BELIEVE to receive a 50% reward bonus over on Bet Online. Lately, it's been smart to bet against the Blazers, unfortunately. And, maybe you can take the edge off the pain with that promo code and with Bet Online. Parlays, live betting, picks against the spread, all sorts of fun stuff to maybe make basketball more enjoyable right now. Check out BetOnline, use that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% rewards. All right, so let me just start with this. I want everyone in chat to just everyone freaking out in chat to take 10 seconds, close your eyes, and take 5 deep breaths right now, all right? Because chat is off to a wild start tonight, Eric. It's chat is chat is off the rails. This game has broken chat. I was wondering what game it would take, how long it would take for chat to break. I think chat has broken, and a lot of the criticisms are very legitimate. I'm not trying to downplay that, but just guys, just take a breath, calm down. We'll go through everything that went wrong in this game. This team's playing bad basketball right now, but Dame's struggling. I kind of have a theory for that. I don't know if I believe in it or not, but I think it might be something that's bugging him. I'll talk about that. And I want to go through those final possessions, Eric, because I'm baffled as to why this team can't score in the final minutes. Everybody's blaming Chauncey, and sure, Chauncey's probably to blame for a lot of it, but also when they get open threes, they can't hit any of them late in games either. Even when they get good shots, they literally just can't make anything happen offensively in the final 5 to 6 minutes of games lately. We saw it against Golden State. They were 1 for 9 with 4 turnovers down the stretch. We saw it against Minnesota. They couldn't score. I don't know what the final shooting numbers were the last 4 or 5 minutes there, but they couldn't get anything going offensively there either. It's a common theme. I also will want to listen to interviews at this point, because at this point, if Chauncey's not, being asked about late game offense, or he's downplaying the late game offense, we just missed some shots, then I have a problem with that. But also, after a game and in the moment, it's hard to truly analyze things in a pressure-packed game. So at some point, I want to go on NBA.com and look at the final 14, 15, 16 shots. Obviously, you can go on NBA.com and look at it with me too, Eric, because I'm so confused right now. Me and you weren't high on this team going into the season, but I feel like this was the last area that you'd expect to be losing the Blazers games right now, is late game clutch time offense.
Especially after how they looked early in the season in the clutch.
It's just baffling to me.
But so shout out to you'll like this username, Nasreed the Goat. In our Discord, who says, over the last 10 games, fourth quarter, Blazers have the number 1 defensive rating in the league at 102.9, but the worst offensive rating at 100. And
It
so
makes
like
no
we're
sense.
playing great defense, but our offense is somehow worse than the best defense in the league. That makes no sense. Um, he also mentions league average is around 116 on offensive rating, and we're at 100 right now in the fourth quarter, last 10 games.
That's terrible. Like the worst offensive rating in the league is probably like 108, right? Like I looked at a scatter plot lately. Like even the worst offenses in the league are closer to average than they have been in the past. That goes along with the parity in the league. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in the first quarter, Charlotte dropped like 50 points on Milwaukee tonight, and Charlotte's terrible. So I mean, offenses are getting better and better, but ours, which at times can look absolutely elite, in fourth quarters and down the stretch, it's absolutely awful. And I understand it if it's at the start of fourth quarters with the bench lineup in, which has had their struggles, which in this game, in the first half, they really struggled. In the second half, they were better. Jabari Walker was a part of that. We'll talk about that because that's a positive from this game. Had to put him in the thumbnail, which was cool. But
Oh, real quick, the worst offensive rating in the league for a game is 107.7 right now, and that's the
yeah,
Charlotte Hornets. And 29th, second to last, is 109. So
like,
there's only one team
yeah.
under 109.
And it's, it's a collective thing. Like, there's no way that's just Chauncey. Like, theoretically, Chauncey could walk off the floor and this offense should still be better offensively than they have been in the fourth quarter. Like, it's, sure, put some blame on Chauncey, but anybody blaming any one particular player or person is pigeonholing it too much. Like, collectively, we suck, like, as a whole. So that's why I want to go through and look at those final 15, 16 possessions, because I want to be able to look at it like, okay, well, we're not in anything on this set because, Chauncey didn't call anything or something, or, oh, we actually got a good shot on this set and just didn't make it. Because there was a couple of shots, an Ant 3, a Jeremy Grant 3 that I thought were decent shots that were bad. But yeah, I mean, I just want to go through the final possessions to just kind of like try and get a better feel for that, because it's not just any one thing. It's not just any one thing. Chauncey has to figure out something different late in game, run more sets, run some backdoor action, try and get some movement on the weak side so that defenses aren't set. That's been a problem with mine. So yeah, some of the criticism should go to him, but it's not just that. It's just a collective suckage right now.
I think it's important to talk about Dame here. So let's get caught up on the donations real quick, and then I want to hear your theory on what's wrong with Dame, and then ask you a question about him as well.
Yeah. Rip City 208. I'll read off this one because I don't want to, but I will. $2 dono from Rip City 208 says Stotts greater than Billups, upside down smiley face emojis. No. If Stotts had Dame the way he's played as of late, we'd be just as screwed offensively, because Stotts' offense was like, let Dame carry us in the fourth quarter, and Dame would always carry us, and now Dame is just in a slump, and I have a theory, but I'll get to it after the final two donos. But thank you, RipCity208, for the $2 dono. I disagree with the message, though. Shout out Shaggy Squid. $5 donation says, what fundamentally needs to change with our starting five? They clearly can't close games defensively or offensively, and it's not fully on Chauncey. Well, they have been closing games defensively, as Eric just pointed out. Offensively, there's even worse somehow, which makes absolutely no sense, because that's supposed to be the strength of this unit. And we've seen for stretches this offense look elite, but it's not consistent, and then it falls apart late in games. And maybe that's because the starters have played too many minutes. I'm not sure.
I think that's definitely a huge part of it, is the minutes they play. But I mean, we see like, not to get too much into Jabari right now, but he did a tremendous job of being around the basket in the dunker spot, cutting at the right time in this game. He gets a pass from, I think it was Eubanks, for a dunk. And I think he also had one from Grant for a dunk as well. I forget which one was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
But then right after that, he gets taken out of the game, and we basically don't score the rest of the game outside of a couple free throws. So, we did a really good job, I thought, of cutting and hitting players off of cuts throughout the game. And the first play of the game, we have the Pacers are starting with four guards basically, and a center, and we throw a lob pass to Jeremy Grant, who gets an easy bucket. But in the fourth quarter, like we're posting him up and he's settling for 15-foot contested jump shots, and we're not getting him close to the rim. They showed a stat tonight that he's among like the greats in the league right now, like LeBron and KD and DeRozan, in terms of being the ball handler in a pick and roll situation, in terms of points per possession out of those. We didn't see any of that in the fourth quarter, him on ball while they harassed our guards. We saw several times where they would double team Dame or Ant at half court, and we did a horrible job of responding to that and taking advantage of the 4 and 3 mismatches we had. So it was like, I don't know, everything went wrong that could have possibly went wrong. And then we missed some tip-ins too, can't secure some offensive rebounds that would have been probably easy putbacks. And then, just all unravels at the same time. It's just frustrating because there's not like one thing you can point to, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think at this point, it's also starting to become mental for this team. Like, they know that they've been terrible offensively late in games, and, the big problem is they seem sped up. You look at, like, the way Indiana was running things late in this game, they were slowing things down, getting to their strengths, like getting Nesmith driving against Dame, who just didn't seem to have his legs the entire game, but especially late. And Nesmith got to the rim. Like, Dame tried, and Dame, I thought, did an okay job of, like, not getting completely blown by, but Nesmith's a bigger player with a head of steam to the rim. He was able to finish. Like, they just kind of calmed down and got to their spots and got good looks, whereas, like, Portland's offense just seems disjointed and just sped up, and I'm just kind of confused as to why. Late in games, I think their offense is, like, the floor balance is off, like, the spacing's off, you got players standing too close to each other or not making the right cuts, and it's just, like, I'm so baffled as to this late game offense. But, go ahead.
I think for me, the most frustrating part is they started off this game, 10-0, there's no way to take that other than being great, right? But they just seemed locked in, and they were making the right reads on defense. They seemed completely focused. And then it's like they call a timeout, the Pacers do, and all of a sudden all that focus is gone, and we're like making boneheaded cross-court passes up by the top of the key that are easily picked off and lead to fast breaks. And all of a sudden no one can finish a lay-in, and we're just out of control on all our drives and stuff. It's like I don't get how this team can look so good at certain times and then just look like absolutely dreadful at others.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of frustrating about this, and that's why I get frustrated at, like, the people that just say, we are absolute ass, or we completely suck, or, just like the absolutism, is that a word? I don't know, but it's not anything absolute with this team. Like, they're in every single game. Like, how many losses does this team have because of, like, just their offense being complete crap? Like, that's not what we expected. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this team should not be playing this bad late in games offensively, and if they were actually playing at the level they're capable of offensively late in games, this team would have 4 or 5 more wins. This team would be 10 games above 500. This team would have home court advantage right now. Like, what separates this Blazer team between losing a bunch of games and as a whole, like, really struggling right now, and being a good team? The biggest 2 things separating it is bench play and late game offense. Both of those are seemingly fixable. Like, if you told me, if it was a situation where our defense just sucked late in games, I'd be like, okay, we kind of expected that. Like, we have to try and figure that out. But it shouldn't be the offense. But that also makes it more frustrating, because it's like, this shouldn't be such an issue. We shouldn't be losing these games like this. So it's something for this team to figure out, and that's why I said the regular season is is to figure out your flaws and try and address them. I just didn't expect this to be such a flaw. but I don't think it's anything that dooms this team. Like, if anything, late game offense should be easier to fix than if it was the late game defense. But that's the thing, is this team has to figure out what's going wrong. If it's playing guys too many minutes, then you have to, the bench and the late game offense might go hand in hand because Chauncey feels the need to play guys too many minutes. But obviously that's not working. So at some point you got to play these guys less minutes or figure out a different strategy late in games. You have to learn from these games, and there's been enough of these games to learn from them. So my opinion on Chauncey this season, I think the number one thing that'll determine it right now is how he adjusts due to these struggles. That's why I'm curious to see his post-game press conference today, because I want to hear something that can make me optimistic that he realizes I'm sure he knows we missed the last 13 shots, but I don't want him to be dismissive of it like, oh, well, we just missed shots, because it's happened too much. If it was one game, okay, sure, whatever. The problem is it's become a pattern. It's become a theme, so there's something to it.
Yeah, and at some point, yes, it's not one person's fault, although I will say that Dame has been uncharacteristically reckless with the ball this year. There's just no way to sugarcoat that. He's had way too many turnovers. He's getting way too caught up in the air and throwing balls in places he should not be throwing them, and it's leading to live fast breaks for the other team. So he's definitely got to do that. But it's like, he'll do that, and then Jeremy Grant will have 2 turnovers in a row, and then Ant will have a turnover. It's just like, at some point, like, you've got to figure out why the offense is leading to being so turnover happy, and put the players in different positions on the floor to where they're not making cross-court passes, or making sure that when Dame drives, he has someone streaking down the middle of the key or something every single time, to where he has an outlet if he gets stuck under the hoop, or so he doesn't have to throw like a cross-court pass to a three-point shooter. I think at some point he can't just hope that this turnover problem figures itself out, because it's the number one thing in my mind that's dooming this team right now.
Yep. Is everybody lagging, or is it just some people? Because I see some people saying the stream's lagging. Let me know if it's not lagging for you. Because on my end, it doesn't show that it's lagging. Normally it shows that it's lagging. So I'm kind of confused. Taylor Packer says it's fine for him. Eric Olson says it's fine for him. So it looks like it's just some of you.
That's weird.
Some of you need
selective lagging.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like half and half. So I don't know. Maybe it's one internet provider or something, or maybe you guys all live in the same area. I have no clue. But as long as it's not lagging for some people, then there's nothing we can do. It's it's not on my end then.
Our stream is playing like the Blazers. Sometimes they look good, and sometimes they're lagging and stuck in the mud, right?
Yeah. Let me take the final dono, and then I want to get into my Dame theory. Shout out Kyle Wilson, $5 dono, says, my mom got me Blazer tickets for the Dallas game as an early birthday present. I'm taking this as a sign she doesn't like me. Also, trade Ant for OG, says Kyle Wilson. Thank you for the $5 dono, Kyle. Appreciate it. I don't see how trading Ant for OG fixes our late game offense, because OG's not a better offensive player than Ant. So yeah, I don't really know what that accomplishes. Obviously we're better defensively, but we've been like, you could make the case that our defense in the last 10 games has been better than our offense. I don't know if you have a stat on that, Eric, but that's the thing, is this team was supposed to be average defensively and elite offensively. The thing is, they've been pretty close to average defensively if you look at adjusted D rating, and offensively they're not what they should be.
Well, it was like at least the first half of December, if not a little longer, we had the number one offense in the league too. So it's not like we haven't shown the capability of having a good offense either.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I saw somebody earlier say don't make excuses. Like, it's not an excuse. I'm talking about the reality. Like, the reality of the situation. And DJ Vega, who's no offense, DJ Vega, but normally you're pretty negative when you came in here, but this is straight facts, says anyone freaking out Just know we have the 11th best record on the road in the NBA, and the Blazers have played the least amount of home games in the NBA are still 500. Like, it's not completely doomed. It's not good, but it's not doomed. Like, there's reasons to be optimistic, but it's dependent upon them not continuing to play this crappy late game offense that they've been playing. And here's the thing. People are like, how did this team start 10-4? Well, how many close games did we win in that 10-4 start? How many close games did we win because our late game offense was actually good?
Yeah, we weren't having any of these issues.
We weren't having any of these issues. And maybe it was a situation where because it was the start of the season, guys were fresh late in games, Eric, and now they're not because, as we've talked about all year long, Chauncey's playing guys too much.
And the road-heavy schedule also.
And the road-heavy schedule. Like, that's the thing, is this team isn't... The first, 3 quarters to 3.5 quarters, I feel like the first 14 games of the year is pretty similar to the first 3.5 quarters now. The problem is instead of getting hot or at least playing solid offensively late in games to pull out wins to get to 10-4, now we are insanely terrible offensively. How do you have an O rating of 100 in the fourth quarter? That's the difference. Mm-hmm. That is the difference between that 10-4 team and this team now. And I don't know, there's probably a bunch of reasons for it that you got to figure out. That's the thing, is NBA teams are separated by a very thin line this year, and when your offense is that drastically bad in the fourth quarter, you're going to lose games because most games are generally competitive, other than the last couple of days. So, anyway, thank you, Kyle Wilson, Shaggy Squid, and Ripcity208 for the donos.
Well, real quick, so truly Spencer PDX was saying that he wanted to leave a long chat message, but it only gives you 50 characters on a donation. Just message me on Discord or Twitter, and then in your chat just say, hey, Eric, see Twitter or Discord or whatever you send the message on, and I'll just read that message off for you if you super chat. But
also, I think if you donate more, you can leave a longer message. I think that's a thing. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyways, Shaggy Squid also says you can see the fact our wins are as close are not a good thing. We rarely win convincingly and have a fair few games that came down to game winners. Yeah, that's all true. But at the same time, I mean, there's reasons why we're always in close games. And I mean, the bench was okay today. Mm-hmm. I don't think that
it was solid.
I don't think they were the reason we necessarily lost this game outside of maybe the second quarter being bad. Yeah. But still, if we had, we don't have Gary Payton, first of all. So that's one of our, we talked about this on the show yesterday. We have 6 guys, if healthy, that are for sure rotation players. Hopefully, someone off the bench, whether that's Sharp, Jabari, Winslow when he's back, Nas when he's back, someone steps up and becomes at least the 7th or 8th guy in that mix. But right now we have 6, and we haven't had Peyton outside of 13 minutes one game. So we've only had 5 dependable rotation level starters or players that you would feel comfortable playing in a playoff series most of the season. So it's going to be tough to blow teams out when you have a bench that doesn't hold leads typically, or doesn't at least play even to other bad benches and things like that. We saw what the Minnesota bench did to them the last game. And so I think it's still, the blowout thing is still more of a byproduct of the roster not being complete versus them not necessarily playing well or whatever.
Yeah. I want to get into Dame.
Yeah.
Dame's obviously been struggling. But did you guys notice a few games ago, I don't know how many games ago it was, but probably 6, 7, maybe 8 games ago, there was a couple different games where I saw this too. Dame was clutching at his upper back / lower neck area. I feel like that coincided with the shooting drop-off. Maybe I'm misremembering the timeline between when he started struggling and when he was clutching at his upper neck, lower back, but it was definitely bothering him in a couple of games. And I'm wondering if it's still bothering him. And I'm wondering if that's why he's not shooting well. Because, like, that's the thing is, as he gets older, yeah, he's not going to have the same level of burst, but in the last 2 games, he's missed 5 free throws, and he is just completely off on three-point shots. He also sprained his shooting wrist, which could also still be bothering him. Like, both of those injuries specifically would bother your shot. Your neck, if you have tension here, it's hard to extend on your shot, and he's missed a lot of shots short. It could also be his legs. Like, I don't think Dame is fully healthy right now, but I also think, like, if his, legs are a little bit tired right now, that's going to affect your shot. If his upper back, lower neck area is still bothering him a little bit, that's going to affect your shot, and then a sprained shooting wrist is going to affect your shot. So I'm kind of wondering if he's just not healthy right now, and unfortunately as he gets older, this might become more of a thing. But people say he doesn't have the same level of burst. I felt that way today, but not in previous games. I think at times he's driving into a paint that's more packed because we don't have guys in the right spot off ball, or we're not running off ball action, and he's constantly driving into traffic. But then here's the thing, is it makes it a lot easier for him to drive when he's hitting threes, because it pulls the defense further away from the hoop. That extends the defense out on him. And right now he's just not making threes. He was 1 for 8 today. So I'm kind of wondering if those combination of things are affecting his shot, which in turn is making it harder for him to drive. And then I feel like the paint's a little bit more packed, and I kind of feel like that could also explain why he's missed 5 free throws in the last 2 games, despite being usually a 90% free throw shooter. Eric, do you think that's a possibility? Do you think that's a probability? Like, just what do you think? My theory.
I mean, yeah, nagging injuries. You've mentioned 2 within the last 2.5 weeks that he's had for sure, and those could still be bothering him. Wrist is something that if you're shooting every day might not heal as fast as if you weren't. But for me, so those are 2 injuries that would affect shooting, I guess. But I don't really think he's like cooked or washed in terms of like athleticism or burst like down the lane. I feel like he's still getting by people and getting to the basket relatively easy. He's just not he's just been struggling finishing a lot of those. But I feel like there's been points even in the last 2 games where he's drove to the basket and gotten there fine, like just he looks normal. So I don't think it's a case where like this is something like he's completely gone and we're gonna have to deal with life without Dame anymore or whatever. Like I think he's fine. He's just not making shots right now, and that's also leading to him like tonight. He wasn't his normal, or not normal, but this year we've seen him play defense fairly well, and I feel like tonight he was a little lackadaisical on that end. So that can't filter into other areas of the game when he's missing shots. So I think he needs to make sure he's locked in on the defensive end at all times and just worry about the offense later.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, lately I feel like he's been doing a better job on the defensive end. Tonight wasn't the best. Like, I feel like he didn't really have his legs tonight. But that's the problem I have with people, though, is if he has a bad shooting night, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters if he has a bad shooting night or a bad shooting stretch. He's going to be washed now because he's 32. Like, if he is 26 and playing like this, people wouldn't be saying he's washed. They're just saying, oh, well, these injuries might be affecting him and this and that. But since he's 32, any stretch where he struggles, people are just going to chalk it up to him being washed. And we heard it earlier this year. At the start of the season, first 2 games, he didn't have the best first couple he didn't have the best preseason, then he didn't have a great opening night game, and people were saying he was washed after opening night. And then he has back-to-back 41-point games, right? And then he injures his calf. and then he comes back and struggles. His calf wasn't 100% healthy, and then he misses more time, and people are saying, oh, he's washed. Look at how he struggled, and now he's dealing with these calf injuries. He's washed. He's not going to be the same. And then he comes back and has a stretch where he's on fire. Hits 11 threes in a game, like, has some great moments. And now, in the past 5 games, he's struggled, and people are saying he's washed again. Like, when are we going to stop being a prisoner of the moment? If he struggles for an entire season and averages 21 points per game and his efficiency is down, sure. But until the past 5 games, he was actually scoring at his highest clip ever for a season on his highest efficiency ever. But because of a 5-game stretch where he could be banged up, injuries could be affecting his shot, because it was reported that he had a sprained wrist. We saw him clutching at his upper back. And a 5-game stretch with that, and people were saying he's washed again. Like, we need to stop being a prisoner of the moment and take a step back and analyze it. But that's the thing, is like, there's people out there, his arm could fall off, and then he's not going to make shots because he's going to have to shoot left-handed, and people will be saying no excuses. Well, it could be the reason for his struggles. Like, it could be the reason. I'm not saying it for sure is. I don't know. But it's not an excuse. Like, there's reasons why guys will struggle. And if guys are injured, they're not going to play as well. That's just the truth. That's not an excuse. That's just reality.
I mean, right before that OKC game where he hit that, or hurt that wrist too, I mean, he was averaging, I think, 38 points per game over a 4 or 5 game stretch, and was consistently good in all of those games. Yeah, so, I mean, it's not like it's been like months since he's been good. It's literally been like 3 weeks ago he had a super hot stretch. It's not like a super crazy long drought all season long that he's been bad.
Yeah, and I'm just so baffled as to how ready people are to say he's washed. It's like it's just that negative mindset where it's like, this dude has been arguably the greatest Blazer ever, been phenomenal for years, but when he sprains his shooting wrist and then has a shooting slump or struggles shooting potentially because of that shooting wrist sprain, people are so ready to chalk it up to him being trash now or him being washed. I just don't get it.
And for those saying in chat that injuries don't excuse the turnovers, I mean, we both agreed earlier in the show, I know you guys were watching, that turnovers are a problem for him, and he needs to stop being reckless with the ball.
And he only had 2 turnovers tonight,
right,
and 8 assists. Like, and we had 18 turnovers as a team, but Simons had 4, and 7 players had at least 2. Jabari Walker had 2, Shaden Sharp had 3, Nurkic had 2, Jeremy Grant had 2, Josh Hart had 2. Like, it's a collective problem. But yeah, he has had some bad moments taken, but that's a whole nother theory that we can get into at some point. We can get into it now, or we can wait, Eric. It's just team offense-based stuff.
I mean, yeah, we talked about this the whole season. The spacing is an issue. It doesn't excuse his turnovers like at the beginning of games, but I do think we could use another shooter. Josh Hart actually did well this game, and that's why I think Dame only had 2 turnovers, is because Josh Hart was actually shooting the ball a couple times. But like, outside of that, I mean, there's been a lot of times where Dame makes the right read, passes out to a wide open Hart, and he hesitates and doesn't shoot, and something happens on that possession. So I don't necessarily think it's not fixable or anything, or because he's washed or anything. He's just making some bad reads right now. And I mean, you also have to factor in that he missed 12 games, and he didn't play with Hart last year. He didn't have a chance to play a ton with Ant, because most of the time Ant came off the bench and played with CJ a lot more. But like, this evolution of Ant, he doesn't have a huge sample size of playing with. Grant is new to the team this year. So like, really the only player in the starting lineup that he's played a ton with as a starter and stuff is Nurkic. Yeah, I think maybe he's just used to certain players being in certain spots that they're not. but he can't get those. He's just got to eliminate those jump passes where he passes across the court to an opposing team and they get a fast break off it, because those are really killing us. But he's not the only one doing them either.
Yep. I just think part of the problem is this team just doesn't know how to play in flow, in a flow. And that's something that Chauncey's been trying to bring to this team, because if this team could ever figure out how to just kind of play in a freelance flowing offense the right way, it would be impossible to stop. But the thing is in order to play like the Golden State Warriors or that sort of thing, like, you got to be able to make quick second decisions on who to screen for, when to slip screens, when to set a solid screen, when to cut. And then also, as the ball handler, you have to make the reads on when to hit the cutter or when to hit the guy coming off the screens. Like, everything has to be, like, quick and fluid. And then if it's not there, it flows into something else. You know, if you cut off a screen, then maybe you filter through and set a back screen for somebody on the other side of the floor. Like, you just move like that. That's what Golden State does. That's how our offense could be as good as possible. But if you watch these guys, they need time to think to do those things. The problem is, it doesn't work if you need time to think to do those things. There's no flow to it. It doesn't happen quick enough in order to generate good shots, because the defense can see it coming when you're taking the time to think. You stand there for a second, oh, I should go screen away now. Then you go screen away and somebody comes off the screen. But, you know, the guy handling the ball doesn't hit the guy coming off the screen when he's coming off the screen. He hits him a second too late, and by that time, the defender's recovered through the screen. And then it's like, oh, well, we're stuck, so we're going to stand around, and everybody's standing, and then it's ISO. That's the problem, is these guys are, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's because they're incapable, or if Chauncey's not coaching it well enough or teaching it well enough, or what the problem is. But we see stretches where these guys flow really well, and it looks phenomenal. But they get into these stretches where it's like they have to think. They almost have to overthink in order to flow, in order to play out of freelance. And that could be part of the reason why in the fourth quarter, in the last 5-6 minutes of games, they look like a complete mess right now, is because they aren't, you know, just flowing and making reads and, you know, playing unconsciously. They're constantly having to think and overthink everything. And then when defensive pressure ratchets up in fourth quarters, they can't handle that, on top of having to think through things offensively like they have to think through things. So that, I think that could be part of the issue, and I think that's part of the issue with turnovers too, is they're passing the ball too late, or they're not passing the ball to the right spot, and it's like unforced stuff, but it's because they aren't making reads fast enough or aren't seeing the floor well enough.
Yep, I agree with that.
Is there any way to figure that out, do you think? Like,
I mean, short of repetition. But that's why I think, I don't know, you kind of need someone that, I don't know, can not get flustered in those situations or something. Like, I feel like we're compounding the problem by, like, oh great, here we go again, and like the mindset, the confidence is not good in these close game situations. Like, we take a 4-point lead and all of a sudden we're down 2, and then it's like, oh crap, and they missed all the rest of their shots, you know, like, I just feel like they're not, I don't know, there's some sort of mental block from, like, they're trying not to lose instead of trying to win. And I don't know if that's as simple as getting someone like Gary Payton, who we know does a lot of the right things on the floor and will move well without the ball and will create havoc on both ends, maybe even a turnover that leads to us getting an easy basket down the stretch, or, you know, adding another player via trade or something like that. But I do think that, I don't know, I don't think Chauncey can just continue to put this same lineup out at the end of every game if it continues this way, and just hope that they figure it out either. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like he's looking at this as like something that they have to grow through.
Hmm.
But also, at what point is it like, oh, well, it's not resulting in anything productive?
Right.
That's the thing, is like, fans hang on every win or loss during a regular season. I don't think head coaches hang on every win or loss as much as fans do. So while fans will be like, oh, look, we choked, we lost, we're 19-19, fire Chauncey, he's a moron, he's not running anything. I mean, I could easily see Chauncey being like, okay, we're 19-19, but we're still in the thick of things, and in order for this team to make a run in the playoffs, they have to be able to learn how to play out of freelance out of these situations. So we're going to keep trying to do it that way, no matter if it ends up good or bad, because if you're not good enough in the playoffs, what does it matter winning a regular season game? I could easily see Chauncey looking at it that way. But fans don't look at it that way. Fans look at it like, oh, well, we're 19-19, we suck. Dame's washed, we're screwed. You know what I mean? So I think that could be some of the disconnect with, like, Chauncey and fans, But at some point, Chauncey has to, I think, maximize their chances of winning games more while still giving them the opportunity to grow through that type of stuff. Like, he needs to call more set actions that maybe flow into something. But that's the thing, is Chauncey has to figure this out. He has to figure out how to get this team to grow, because in playoffs, teams will take you out of sets because teams game plan for sets. Teams will know your sets in a playoff series. You got to be able to play out of freelance and flow.
Mm. Well, I just get frustrated when I see those traps at half court and we don't do anything to attack them. We just like let them trap. We pick up our dribble in horrible spots, whether it's on the sideline or right at half court at the middle. You don't have any outlet to pass to out of those. When we do get the ball out of the trap, the guy just stands there until the defense recovers back to their guy. It's the same crap we talked about with Stotts for years. So I think I think we need to see them have a more attacking mindset. And honestly, a lot of what helped this team, I know they've struggled from the free throw line shooting wise lately, but a lot of what made this team a lot better early in the season was they were getting into the bonus early in quarters. They kept attacking the basket. They kept getting to the free throw line. I mean, that's literally how they won the New York game on the road. So like, I feel like that kind of mindset has gone back to just like more ISO pick and roll heavy, settling for, dagger threes instead of getting to the line and winning the game that way. So I think they need to, especially if a team traps either Dame or Ant, that should be an automatic. Someone should be going to the basket and getting a good shot out of that, or getting fouled because the defense is late to recover, because it's a 4-on-3 advantage. And if we can't take advantage of 4-on-3, I mean, that's to me, that's on coaching, like it always has been with Stotts.
I mean, we've seen this team have a good floor setup when they get trapped, just not lately.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of times we'll see a trap in the half court and Josh Hart's cut into the middle and he's the outlet valve and then he makes a play happen. Like we saw that a lot earlier in the season. When Ant got trapped and had that turnover where he tried to throw to Jabari Walker, I know it was like dang bad pass Ant, but he was doubled and he had no outlet anywhere close to him. Like, as a player on the court, you see a dude getting trapped and double teamed in the backcourt, you gotta cut towards him to be an outlet to relieve pressure, because it's only a 4-on-3 behind that once you get the ball out of that. If the guy can't get the ball out of that, what is he even supposed to do? Like, sure, it'd be great if Ant could split both defenders and then it's a 5-on-3, but if he can't, it's like he needs an outlet, and his only outlet was down the court on the other side of the court where he had to jump and throw some like insane pass to get it there. And it's like, even if he makes the right pass, defenses can rotate through that and get a steal. So it's like that possession specifically, it was like, why is everybody down the court just standing there, not giving him an out? You want one guy closer to him on his sideline, you want one guy in the middle, and you want one guy across the court, but much further into the backcourt. You don't want a guy at half court if Ant's in the backcourt across the court on the other side of the floor. You want them to be even with Ant. So, like, players got to recognize that. Like, that's a basic thing to know. When a guy's getting double teamed in the backcourt trying to bring the ball up, it's basic stuff. And that's the thing is, like, Chauncey might assume, like, oh, well, this is stuff that they should know, and they, for some reason, don't. Because that's what I would think is, like, he needs an outlet. Like, it's very logical. It's basic basketball.
Well, I think you can make a case that you're fine with, like, Jeremy Grant and whoever doesn't have the ball in those drives, whether it's Ant or Dame, the other one of those two, is fine, like, spotting up at three-point line, right? So they could probably do a better job of, like, fading to the right spot, so whoever drives has an angle. But to me, I don't want Josh Hart spotting up, especially, I mean, tonight he was fine, but, you know, most of the season he hasn't been. So, like, I think Chauncey just needs to designate someone, and I think that someone should be Josh Hart, that whenever Dame or Ant drives, you go to a certain spot and have an angle for him to pass to you out of that drive, or you might end up, like, diving down the middle and getting wide open lanes or whatever. But, like, I think Josh Hart should be utilized in that role, or have Josh Hart on ball and run action for these guys off ball so they're not having to create off the dribble as much in late games if the tired thing is the reason why they're having troubles at the end of games. Giving them more off ball shot. Like, I thought there was that one play late in this game where we got Ant a three. I mean, the game was, I think we were down 7 at the time or something, so it probably didn't matter. But, like, I thought that was a good play, and we got someone a standstill spot up 3-point shot that was wide open. So I think we should do more of that action, whether it's using Josh Hart as the facilitator, especially if they're pressuring Dame and Ant, or, you know, just using him as the guy who gets into those outlet spots where if one of those guys drives, he's there to accept those passes.
Yeah, and there's a comment that says, from Rohan, that says, personnel was a legit excuse the past few years, not this year. Dame getting trapped should be a 4-on-3 with Ant, Grant, Hart, and Nurkic, and that should be a basket 90% of the time. Theoretically, yes, but the problem is if those players aren't recognizing the situation fast enough and where to be fast enough and then making the right read once the ball's out of the trap fast enough, you're not going to score 90% of the time. And that goes back to my whole thing with these players just not being able to make reads, whether it's where to be off the ball, where to cut off the ball, who to hit when they have the ball in their hands, when to attack, when to pass. Like, these guys aren't making reads fast enough. So that's the problem, is in order to beat a 4-on-3, you got to be able to make the right read quick enough. You got to have the right floor balance, but you also got to make the right reads quick enough. And this team just seems to be thinking through everything, which they weren't doing as much earlier in the year. Like, they were just kind of playing more within the flow of things. And we saw this in preseason. The preseason offensively was not good, and it was like these players were overthinking everything, and we're saying, okay, well, it's preseason, they're new, like, we expect that. We've seen moments of good. It's not all bad offensively. Like, we've seen this team beat 4-on-3s this season. It's not like it was in the past where it's like Dame's outlet. We're running pick and rolls at half court, so Dame gets trapped at half court like he was in the Pelican series, and then his outlet is CJ McCollum at half court across the court, but he's not even in a position to turn it into a 4-on-3 because he's so far away from the rim. Like, that's just bad floor setup, and that was the strategy. That's what Stotts did, and he would run Dames into these traps in the corner with the half court line and the sideline, and then he wouldn't have a good outlet, and the floor setup wasn't right. But that was by design. That's why I was so critical of Stotts. I don't think it's Chauncey Billups' design. I don't think it's Chauncey Billups' floor design, which is why they're struggling with this trap. I think it's more so guys not being in the right spots, and it's on Chauncey to figure out how to get him in the right spots so he's not absolved of any blame, but it's a different type of blame.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought tonight we didn't do a good job. I mean, his only adjustment was to put like Dame back in the game or Ant back in the game, whoever's on the bench. So they had one less person that could trap. But yeah, I mean, that's a decent strategy. But to me, if you want to get your bench going, I mean, we saw several plays where we got it to the middle of the paint after aggressive defense on one of our ball handlers, and well, at least when Jabari was in the game, he got several baskets out of that, or was in a place to get an offensive rebound if someone took an outside shot. But I felt like there was a stretch of this game where they started double teaming, and we just played right into it, and Ant really had nowhere to pass to because all the players were down past the free throw line, and even if we wanted to attack, we had no one to attack. And I think
Are you talking about with the bench lineup or with the starters?
It was a little bit of both. They had some starters mixed in.
Yeah, I mean, our bench lineup's just kind of clueless.
Right.
Like Eubanks and Sharp, I don't expect them to know where to be.
But like at some point, if you're a coaching staff, I've been talking about this for years against the trap. To me, if I'm playing on a team and someone's getting double teamed at half court, your eyes should light up with how easy that should be to get baskets every time down the court. And it feels like we just kind of play right into that and kind of wilt under the pressure of the trap instead of just having like Ant kind of act like he's bringing the ball up, but then have someone dart to the middle of the court, pass to him quickly. By that time, there's two guys past those four other players, and you can just immediately dribble towards the basket and create a 4-on-3 advantage. And I feel like there wasn't many times with how often they trapped in this game near half court that we took advantage of that.
Yep, agreed. Are you ready to get into like the final? You ready for that? The final like 16 possessions. Just go to the NBA.com play-by-play fourth quarter. And I'm gonna start with let's see here. Dame's pull-up miss with 6:06 left. I could maybe share my screen to you. I don't know how that'll work. Yeah, I'll have to mess with that. Right, let me try this right now. I'm gonna pull up the solo webcam because it'll pull up the like Skype menu if I share screen. All right, can you see NBA.com on Skype?
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see my NBA.com. Okay, cool. So you can watch it through with me then. That's cool. All right. That's how we're gonna do it then. And feel free to let me know, and we pause everything. But I just want to go through and talk about just every possession and say what we think the problem was, whether it's a good shot and it was a miss, whether it was a bad shot for whatever reason, etc. So, because yeah, the final 6 minutes and 30 seconds, 2 points is bad. Let me make sure it's muted too. There we go. So with them trapping here, first play was they were trapping Simon. So Dame comes, sets a screen. There's 13 on the shot clock. He releases out of that to the free throw line, gets the ball, and then shoots a fadeaway, but he couldn't dump it down to Nurk because Hart's guy rotated down to Nurk. This is where you want a three-point shooter where Hart is, because that's an easy kick out for an open three to Hart, but Dame shoots a step-back mid-range shot that misses.
Yeah.
But, like, is that play design, do you think? Is that just Hart, Dame not trusting Hart to shoot a three? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think, yeah, I like the design between Dame and Ant screening for each other and creating a open lane for Dame in that regard. But I don't feel like the rest of the court was spaced very well for it.
Yeah. That was the first play. Let me go back to second play. I mean, Nurk missed the tip in after that, so that was a missed bucket. The next play was Dame missing a layup. I mean, that's yeah, I don't even know what this was.
He had to throw it high off the glass
Because of Turner. Yeah.
because of Turner.
But like also in the past I feel like he explodes there, you know. But like that's where I wish Dame would maybe dump it off to Nurk. But that's not like a bad set, or it's not even bad spacing. Like, he gets a layup at the rim, just completely smokes it. And he could have dumped it off to Nurk. Nurk might have been able to have a better shot at finishing. But, like, if you're able to get in this position, you'll take that most of the time, I think. It's not even Hart's guy doubling down onto him. Dame just smokes a layup. Like, doesn't even hit rim. So, that was with 5:30 left. And Nurk got an offensive rebound on that play, too, and missed a putback.
So he got stripped, yeah.
Yeah, I got stripped. The next play was a Grant three-point jump shot miss. I mean, that's good.
Good shot.
That's a good shot. That's a good shot that Grant misses. That's good offense.
Dirk almost gets the rebound on that one, too.
Yep. Dame drove, kicked it out to Hart. I mean, see, they still rotate out on Hart. And maybe it's because he made 2 threes in this game, but that's the thing. They're still rotating out on Hart, which allows him to attack the closeout, get into the paint, and kick out to Grant in the corner, who's just wide open and misses the 3. He was 0 for 5 today. That didn't help whatsoever. But that was a good shot. Just missed it. The next play was... Where was that at? The next play was Simon's missing a layup. In transition. He got the ball hit. Go ahead.
Just in and out.
What'd you say?
That's... Yeah. Can't argue with that shot. Just in and out.
Yeah, it was transition drive. He got the ball hit. It's still almost
probably got to finish, but yeah.
I mean, dump it off to
Nurk here.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't have time with Nesmith running with them, but like here, I want to see him lob it to Nurk. That's the right read, but that's just transition offense. That's them trying to get out and run and get a bucket. So like nothing I've seen so far is really anything to criticize Chauncey for yet. I'm sure there's something coming. The next play was a Nurk bad pass turnover. He had him on that cut.
Yeah. He just threw a bad pass.
Yeah. He pivoted wrong. Yeah, the next play was Nurk caught the ball like kind of a little bit beyond the elbow, and Dame was in the corner, and Dame back cut his defender and had like a step and a half on him, and Nurkic threw it behind him, and it was a turnover. Like, that's a layup if he makes that pass. The problem is Nurkic pivoted wrong. When he catches it here, he should be pivoting with his right foot forward. Instead, he like steps with his left, and he's passing it from there instead of facing Dame. So that was just an execution mistake by Nurkic, which should have been an open layup for Dame. It was just a bad pass because Nurkic's footwork was bad.
And sometimes Nurk throws like where the person is instead of leading them a little bit. And so that would have been a good time to lead Dame a little bit. And you have to have, if you throw a bounce pass, it has to come back up. Nurk should know that, as he's not very good at catching low passes either. So that's something where he's got to throw that bounce pass to where it bounces sooner than he did, and it bounces up to Dame, and he can just catch it and go right up to the hoop, because he'd have a lay-in or a dunk if he did.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, that's completely fine offense, just an execution mistake on Nurkic's turnover. Next play was a Grant 15-foot jump shot miss.
In my mind, it's just, I mean, they post up Grant against a smaller guy, and he just stands there and settles for a jumper. I don't think this is a good shot. He should have attacked the rim.
Yeah, because nobody's even helping onto him. Attack where Hield is, and then if Hield helps down, kick it out to Ant. It's an open 3 for Ant.
Yep.
Like, and if Hield doesn't help down, you're going to your right, and you're probably going to get to the bucket against Nesmith. If Halliburton helps all the way over, that's where Hart should definitely cut. and then Hart might have a lane. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
like I'm completely fine with ISOing Grant against Neesmith. Grant just has to attack, because Grant, we see him attack and he gets good buckets. I hate when he settles for mid-range jump shots when he's not hot. He makes them when he's hot, but when he's not hot, it's just not efficient enough, and he's good going towards the rim.
Yeah.
So that possession was on Grant, just not attacking and creating.
And two, I also, like I said, he's been really good as the pick and roll ball handler. So maybe if you're going to run a play for him, maybe design one for him to get the ball going to the basket off a pick and roll instead of just a straight post up where he's already 15 feet from the hoop when he catches the ball. And if you are going to post him up, you don't have to throw it to him there. Kick it out, reverse it, seal him, and maybe get better position on the other side with how the floor was spaced in that play. So I think there are things they could do out of that. I don't like just the straight 15-foot post up. That's like the mellow post up right there.
Yeah,
I don't like that play.
Depending on the defender, I'm okay with it. I'm not, thrilled with it, but it's like I understand. Okay, the offense isn't going. You got a good matchup for Grant. He's shown to be able to attack that. And yeah, I mean, it's literally just go to your right hand and he's probably getting a decent shot in the paint or a kick out to Ant for an open three. So Grant missed an open three in the stretch and then settled for that mid-range. And yeah, I could have run some better action to get him a little better position. But I kind of feel like he likes being able to be a little bit further out so he can like have space to drive on it instead of like having to back it down, being able to get the space to get his shoulder past the defender. So we had Dame smoke a layup and maybe could have hit Nurk. We had Ant miss a layup that was defended in transition, maybe could have hit Nurk. We had Grant miss an open three. We had Nurkic throw a bad pass that should have been a layup for Dame on a backdoor cut, and we had Grant settle for that 15-foot jump shot. Then next play we had a Dame miss. And it was just ISO. So this is one of those possessions where it's like, okay, it's too stagnant. Like everybody is standing here. And this is where the spacing is bad, is when you have Hart and Nurkic on the same side of the floor with another player. So Dame's on the close side of the floor, Ant's in the corner that Dame's on, and then on the opposite side of the floor, you got Grant in the corner, Hart on the wing, and Nurkic on the block on the other side of the floor. So the problem is when Dame drives, he's rotating over, Neesmith's ready to help down. But I wish the guards did a better job of taking that extra dribble, getting Turner to commit, than dumping it off to Nurk. Because I don't think Neesmith was going to help all the way down onto Nurk. But go ahead.
And Turner never fully commits, or Dame doesn't force him to fully commit. So, and that also leads to, I mean, Dame gets the rebound and gets fouled. So this is where we score our last 2 points of the game.
Yeah. And Dame can make this floater. Like Dame's just off. Like he just misses this floater and it's in and out. But like that's the thing, is like even when it's stagnant, these guys aren't making shots that they can make, and then they're not making the reads that they can make. Like I would like to see Grant kind of shuffle up and maybe get a three, but yeah, I mean that was just a stagnant possession, so gotta have better motion for sure. Who would you put that possession on?
I mean, I don't like the ISO possessions, but especially when our guards are struggling shooting all night, our ISO players. So I don't like the fact that 2 plays in a row we settled for a Grant 15-foot jumper and a Dame runner when he hadn't been hitting most of his shots tonight. But I mean, normally this is decent offense for us.
Yeah, I mean, normal Dame comes up with a play here, you know what I mean? Or Grant comes up with he missed an open three, he missed that mid-range ISO possession. It's like when we do ISO, our stars, they're not playing up to the level that they should be offensively late in games. Like that's a big part of it. But yeah, a couple ISO possessions there. So sure, you can blame Chauncey for a couple of those, but every possession before that during this bad stretch, I don't think was anything bad regarding Chauncey. The next play was a Grant missed 3-point shot. What do you see on this play?
Well, good action from Dame and Hart. Hart gets the ball in the key. Good positioning. He maybe could have attacked when he gets Turner to commit. Maybe throw that up to Nurk there. But Grant's wide open when he kicks it out to him.
Ant's wide open too. He could have hit Ant too.
Yeah. Do we have someone in the corner, or are they up top? They're up top. Okay.
They're up top, yeah. That was Ant. And Grant could have had a drive here too.
Yeah.
So like Dame got trapped on the sideline and Hart rolled towards the paint. Dame hit Hart and the defense collapsed. There was 2 guys on Dame and then 2 guys collapsed onto Hart, leaving Grant and Ant wide open. He kicked out to Grant. That was the play where he caught the ball high and just kept it high and shot near the end of the game and missed it. Neesmith closed out really hard on him. Grant definitely could have drove right, and Nurkic could have sealed Turner. It might have been able to be a dunk or a layup for Grant, but he shoots the 3 and misses it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the type of offense you would want, I would think. Being able to get Grant a good look at 3 and also a chance to attack a closeout after Dame gets trapped. And Ant was open on the play too. Hart just passed to Grant instead of Ant.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the problem. It's like these possessions will happen, and there's a section of people that'll scream about Billups and say to fire him and this and that. That's why I like analyzing each specific play. Because it seems like there's people that want to make it about specifically about Billups. And, I mean, the late-game offense in this game, I didn't know how much I should blame Billups going into this post-game stream. That's why I wanted to watch over this. Oh, they don't have Simons' turnover after that. No idea what happened with that clip.
That's
okay,
unfortunate.
there we go. We got it.
Oh.
This is literally identical to the last play where Simons gets a screen going left towards the sideline and he gets double-teamed. Instead of Hart rolling, it's Grant rolling to the middle of the paint.
Mm-hmm.
That was the turnover that he had, passing it out to Buddy Hield, and then what? They got a bucket off this, right?
Yeah,
Hield got the lay-in.
Dame doesn't. Dame should have probably tried to take a charge there or contest instead of just running by. So where's Hart in this play?
Hart's down in the opposite corner.
Okay, so that's where the pass probably should have gone. Because someone
Hart
is
also
open.
needs to shuffle up, though.
Right.
Because he can't pass. Simons, this whole entire play, cannot pass to Hart, even though Hart's open. That's the problem. But that's the thing, is like Hart should know to shuffle up here.
Yeah.
That's the problem with like guys not knowing where to be off the ball. Like you got to give Ant a passing window. So Ant drives left, Hart's rolling to the paint, Nurkic is on the opposite block, Dame is up top being denied. Nurkic's guy helps onto Ant on the drive, and also could have helped onto Grant on the roll if Ant hit the roll man. Hart's in the opposite corner. His guy helps down to Nurkic and takes him away, but Hart is standing directly behind Nurkic from where the ball is, so Ant can't even kick out to Hart. Hart needs to go up to the wing from the corner in order for Ant to have a passing lane to him.
Well, also, too, Ant's got to recognize if he doesn't get that step on Neesmith there, and he knows Turner's waiting for him, maybe you got to stop and bring it back out instead of attacking in that situation, getting caught on the baseline. But I agree with you. So there's 4 players in the paint and only 3 Blazers, 4 Pacers in the paint, only 3 Blazers here. Someone has got to get the angle, whether that's Hart or Dame. Someone needed to do a better job of getting the right angle there. And unfortunately, Hart did not. So Ant's only play was to throw it to someone who was covered, and that didn't work out, unfortunately.
Also, he maybe could have thrown a bounce pass here to Nurkic.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have gotten tipped, but like on a lot of these plays, it's like you could dump it off to Nurkic because Turner helps hard.
Yeah. Or just throw it off a Pacer's leg and regroup. You know, like
yeah.
I think.
But also, like, here's the thing: the corner does become open when you're running baseline if you jump in the air out of bounds and wrap it around. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't know why he jumped in the air going out of bounds, and instead of throwing it to the corner, he tries to throw it up top and he throws it straight to a Pacer. So this is just bad read by Ant too.
I think what he thought was that Grant was going to be open, and he was, but he didn't recognize that Nemhard had recovered and gotten in front of him. But I think he thought Grant was going to be open on that, and then when he wasn't, he panicked.
Yep. Yep.
But you can't get caught up in the air on the baseline like that. That's just don't lose your dribble like that and then jump to make it worse.
Yep. And then next play, Simons missed a jumper. So they trap Dame. And then Nurkic is open on the roll, and he doesn't hit Nurk. Like, maybe he felt like just with the way his body was angled, Dame didn't do the best job handling that trap and giving himself, like, because, you know, he turns his back to the play, Dame, when he gets trapped by Turner. Like, most NBA offenses against us, when we trap, it's like, oh, they just hit this big man on this pocket pass. You know what I mean? But Dame drives into Turner, so that's a mistake. He could have hit Nurkic on a roll, and Nurkic probably gets to the rim for a lay-in here if he hits Nurk. That's basically what you want. Instead, he kicks out to Simons, and Simons shoots that's a shot that he can hit, but it's just a pull-up mid-range contested shot against Heald with 13 on the clock. What are your thoughts on this play?
I mean, we've seen Ant hit this all year, but I agree. Probably could have worked out better if we hit Nurk on the roll. I mean, I don't have a problem with that shot from Ant. Just got to make it.
Yep, got to make it or got to hit the roll man there if you're Dame. The problem is Dame drove into the guy trapping him and ended up like spinning against it and turning his back to Nurkic rolling, so he couldn't hit Nurk. So, you know, that's kind of a mistake by Dame there, an execution mistake. The next play is Ant missing a 24-foot three-point jumper. It's a play out of a timeout. The one thing you can criticize it, we're already down 7 at this point. Like, the offense is already cooked at this point. The one thing I have a problem with is our offensive or our sideline inbounds plays where it's just Dame running up towards the inbounder.
Yep, and it gets doubled here, and we almost get a 5-second call because we have no idea what to do.
Yep. So that's a criticism of Chauncey. That's the biggest criticism I've had this entire stretch is the sideline inbounds. With a minute left, because honestly, I don't really think it's much of a Chauncey issue so far. It's honestly, I feel like after watching it back, it's less of a Chauncey issue than I thought it was the final 6 minutes so far. So yeah, they inbound to Nurk, and Nurk hits Dame on a backdoor cut. I mean, that's a good action off of it. Yeah,
this wasn't the design though. The design was trying to get the ball because they kind of panicked there. But this. I want to see more of this just as designed, you know, have our guards be running towards the basket and catching the ball versus Dame catching it going away from the hoop and then having to run some sort of action out of that. This is way easier to get your guys freed up.
So basically they overplayed Dame so much on the inbounds, we barely got it into Nurk, but since Dame was overplayed, he was able to backdoor once Nurkic caught the ball. He was able to backdoor and drive right at Simons' guy, who helped onto Dame, so we hit Simons in the corner. That was that open three with about a minute left. I mean, that's a good look. That's an inside-out pass directly into his shooting pocket, corner three, open, and he misses it. And he just misses it. Like, you have no problems with that shot whatsoever, especially when you're down 7 with a minute and 6 left.
Yep.
So aside of just kind of, you know, just not even running a play on the sideline inbounds, it actually, the Dame being overplayed on the inbounds turned into a Simons corner 3 that was wide open.
Yeah.
So just not making that shot. And that's a shot we know Simons can hit. Like, unfortunately, Simons himself has been a little bit of a shooting slump. And then final offensive possession was Dame missing it glitched. Dame missing a 5-foot floater. At this point, the game is pretty much lost. The Blazers were down 9 with 40 seconds left, so this play doesn't even really matter. But it was just Dame attacking one-on-one and missing a floater. It was that final shot he missed, which, like, you got to get a quick bucket. It was like a 3-second possession because they were down 9 with 40 seconds left. So nothing really to say about that play. So after watching through everything, Eric, what are your takeaways from the final 6.5 minutes of offense?
Yeah, I don't think it was bad. Just one really unfortunate turnover in a bad time that led to 2 easy points for them. And just can't hit a three. Missed a bunch of floaters and jump shots as well. Yeah, I don't know how to fix that really.
Yeah.
Outside of not doing the ISO stuff, there's really not much to critique there.
Yeah. I mean, we only got 2 shots right at the rim in that stretch, though, which is a problem. But also, it's like you got to hit Nurk on some of these dump-off passes that could have been there and they weren't hitting them. Like, that's the problem. In these, I feel like in these stretches late in games, they aren't hitting Nurkic on any dump-off passes.
Mm-mm.
But they're getting the big guy helping onto every drive, and they're not able to get shots at the rim with that, but then they won't hit Nurk.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dame, we've seen stretches where it's like he drives and it's either a layup for him or a layup for Nurk, because he just makes the big man choose. And instead, during that stretch, he had a left-handed layup. He threw high off the backboard that didn't hit rim because Turner came over and helped onto him. And it's like Dame normally would find Nurk there, I feel like. So our best players have to be better down the stretch. Like, I don't think anything... I mean, I shouldn't say anything. Like, there's a couple of things, but that's why I have a problem with we lose a game because our offense completely falls apart the last 6.5 minutes, and people will automatically blame Chauncey. Like, I was willing to blame Chauncey. I was willing to blame Chauncey watching back those last 6.5 minutes. As I said at the start of the stream, I don't know. I wanted to watch it back just so I could get a better feel for it. After watching it back, it's less Chauncey than I thought it was. Because I don't really know like how that's bad offense.
Ish says 29 assists after 3 quarters, finished with 30. But like several of those should have been assists on those plays we watched. So
yeah, don't just watch the box score, Ish.
I mean, I don't know if he's saying that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know if you're but Ish normally criticizes the coaching pretty heavily, so I assume that was part of that. But
interviews are up. They're saying.
Okay. You want me to just keep sharing my screen?
Sure.
Because, I mean, I don't think you can't, actually, maybe you can hear it through Skype because obviously I'm going to show the volume, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, we'll see.
Let's.
I didn't hear any volume on those plays, if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, because I had the volume off.
Okay, cool.
So you got Dame interview up, Chauncey. We want to listen to Chauncey first?
Yeah.
It's less than 4 minutes. Let me unmute this.
13 shots or whatever. I think 0 for 13. I think ending the game, not the last 13
I'm not
shots or whatever.
All right. You'll just have to listen to the stream.
I think 0 for 13.
All good.
Would have been nice, but oh well. Actually, maybe there is a way I can. I don't know. I'll mess with it after. I've never even thought about this, but we can look at this after.
0 for 13. I think ending the game, not the last 13 shots or whatever. We missed. Again, we was in good shape. I mean, this is a game that we win. We out rebound them. We have 30 assists. We usually win a game like that. But they scored 29 points on turnovers, and I sat here in front of us and said we can't turn the ball over against this team. They're number 1 in the league in transition points. Turn it over, you feed into their game. So that that obviously hurt us, but just not being able to score at the end of games. I mean, that's gonna hurt you every time, man.
What do you make of this lack of execution? Is it? I mean, eventually, don't you have to ask, are these players good now?
No, I gotta.
Did you hear that question?
What do you make of the lack of execution or something?
Yeah, and then he said, at some point, you have to think that maybe the players aren't good enough. That was the question. So here's his answer to that.
First, I gotta look in the mirror, and I gotta just be better about putting us in the right positions at the end of games, But I really, and obviously I'll look at it again. But I thought we got good looks. Ant got a wide open 3. Jeremy got a wide open 3. Dame was at the rim a couple times. We had a tip in. We got good looks and just couldn't knock it down. Just couldn't make a shot just to kind of stop the bleeding.
See, I feel like if we hear it without looking back at it, like we're like, oh, he's saying what Stott said,
Mm-hmm.
But after watching it back, it's like, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I do like that he said it starts with him. At least he took accountability this time. So.
Yeah.
You just got to start figuring out how to make sure it stops keeping from happening.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's trying to figure out ways. And that's the thing. I don't think Chauncey is set in his ways at all. That's a problem I had with our previous coach. And, that's the thing is looking at it. It's like, I don't really know what else you do, but you got to try something like a wrinkle or a design set, just something to get him going later games because it's a theme now. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the thing. It's like, just watching it back, it's like, if these players are playing well, man, they hit like 5 or 6 of those shots and they win this game. So, that's where it comes back to, like, maybe you got to cut minutes a little bit more so these guys are fresher at the end of games because that could be part of it too. So, anyway, I'll play the rest of this.
So you say you have to look in the mirror. You think you should be calling different sets or different...
I gotta do a better job of just, getting us in the right positions, to get shots, to attack whatever matchups. I gotta be better, man.
We just said, you guys had good shots.
We did. We got good shots. I'm not gonna complain about our shots. There has been times that I come in and say, we're not getting quality. We're not taking quality shots at the end of games, and I didn't feel that way today. We got shots, but a couple nights ago in Minnesota, I don't know if it was 0 for 9 at the end of we just couldn't make. But there are some times where we're rushed and we're not taking quality looks. I didn't feel that way today. I thought we got pretty good looks, and it was just a lid on it. And then the turnovers. We turn it over in some of those stretches too.
And when you're in your late game situations now, are you your rotations? Are you just going straight with starters? Are you playing it by feel at all to see like who's playing well and who's not? Or
I'm pretty much always going to end the game with my starters. They're starters for a reason. That's who we depend on. I've always thought, even when I played, like, if you got a guy that's a reserve and he's coming off the bench, for the most part, you don't depend on them to go win you the games at the end. That's the reason why it's hard to start in this league. So for the most part, I'm always going to be out there with my starters at the end of the game. They've earned that right.
I mean, I don't really agree with that sort of thinking. Like, for the most part, you will generally play your starters, but I think maybe...
On this team, might be.
Yeah, especially on this team. But, like, when you have GP2 back, like, you need that defensive stopper at the end of games.
He's not going to play GP2 at the end of games if he's not starting.
I mean, we'll have to see. That's the thing. I can't even blame that logic in regards to this specific bench, but, maybe you keep a guy like Jabari in. But it's like... You're ending games with your starters, and they're playing good defense at the end of games, as you showcased the last 10 games. You said best defensive rating in fourth quarters, which is insane. The starters, which are an offensively gifted group, are playing terrible offensively at the end of games. Like, that's not a personnel thing in terms of, like, these guys can't shoot or make shots. They're just not making shots at points, and at other points, it's like a bunch of different things.
Trevin brings this up, how many games did he finish with like Winslow or like Eubanks a few times? That's not even, he's not even speaking the truth there.
But even, has there been a game where he's ended with one of those two guys and it's worked out?
The first game, Sacramento.
Who'd he end with?
Winslow, I think.
Okay. But we're on
and one of the 5 Eubanks endings, I think.
Yeah, one of the 5. Yeah. So yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. If he had a better bench and he was still like that, and they were struggling like this, then I'd have much more of a problem with it.
Also, this so Ish brings this up. Ant played 41 minutes. Both him and Jeremy didn't sub out at all in the fourth quarter. And so and they're the two that miss open threes. Like that could definitely be a part of it.
I mean, Ant didn't even miss this because of legs, though. He just missed his right. I feel like Ant's missing more shots left and right than normal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there was a form thing there or what. But he's also having a lot of shots go in and out lately.
Yeah.
Like, the Blazers in general have had a lot of shots go in and out lately. Nurkic had a shot go in and out today. Ant had a couple. Anyway, I'll play the final 46 seconds of this.
Imagine you were okay with the start, but then kind of gave it right back up. That was something you were lamenting last game, was coming out casual.
Yeah.
Fairly sharp.
Yeah, I thought we did. We came out with the right mentality early, knowing that this team can get away from you, man. You know, they can, as fast as they play and the style that they play, if they make shots, they can get away, you know. But we're the same way. You know, we go 9 for 33 from 3 tonight. It's not really like us, you know. But it happens. And I thought our defense was good enough to win this game tonight. We just, offensively, we just couldn't score when it mattered.
I mean, yeah, you consider how much they turned the ball over. That fed into some easy looks for Indiana and still held them to 108 points. Indiana only shoots 7 for 25 from 3, 28% from 3, 45% from the field. Like, you don't really have any problems defensively with this game. You actually shut down a star offensive player in Tyrese Halliburton. He's not the scorer like a Luka Doncic is or other guys, but he's 5 for 15 from the field and 3 for 10 from 3. And then Miles Turner's only 6 for 16, and he goes 0 for 6 from 3. By the way, could you imagine if Nurkic goes 0 for 6 from 3? He goes 1 for 4 and he shouldn't shoot them, but we want Miles Turner because he shoots threes and he's 0 for 6 tonight. So defensively, you really have no. I can't speak for anyone, but I don't really have an issue with this game defensively.
I mean, the Pacers were, I think, 1 for 10 from 3, and most of them were pretty open in the first half. But yeah, they just weren't hitting.
Yeah, I mean,
they were getting to the rim a lot.
Contesting, but yeah. But in the second half, they don't shoot well from the rim. They were like 50% from the field in the first half and fall to 45%. So second half defense was fine. I thought our defense with our starting unit in the first half was fine. Bench got outscored in the first half. Starters were all +6 or better at halftime, and the bench was, minus, which plus minus is better when you use it to kind of analyze units instead of just individuals. So, yeah, it's tough, man. Do we want to listen to Dame's interview?
Sure.
All right. Well, actually, chat, what do you guys think of Chauncey's interview, by the way? Did you guys feel better about it? Because I thought I thought he gave a good interview, took some accountability, but also I think he was kind of spot on with their offense down the stretch, man. I don't see how anybody can have a big problem with anything he said in that interview.
He continues to say the right things at some point. Still needs to...
I mean, he needs to figure out how to address the root or find the root causes of problems instead of just we can't turn it over. Okay, well, why are you turning it over? Mm-hmm. What is the reason? And how do you fix that? Because going in there and saying, oh, okay, guys, don't turn it over, that doesn't do anything. These guys aren't trying to turn it over. Figure out why they're turning it over and help them address that root cause. So that's really where we're at. But that's the thing. It's if guys aren't making the right reads fast enough, how do you help them make the right reads fast enough? That's the thing, is you could be coaching them to make these reads, make these cuts, be in the right spot off the ball. But if they're not recognizing those things in a game fast enough, I don't really know what else you can do other than watching film. And I'm sure they're watching film.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't really know. Anyway, Dame time.
We just haven't been good enough, down the stretch. In these types of games,
it's very quiet.
We just haven't made shots. We've had turnovers. You know, teams have been able to, you know, just outplay us in those closing minutes. You know, and I think just for a team like us that plays in so many of those games, it's like those are the moments that we gotta be our sharpest. You know what I mean? We gotta understand what needs to happen. We gotta execute. You know, we just gotta tighten up and bite down in those moments. You know, to come out on top, especially on the road, and we just haven't been able to do that.
Coach says it feels like he has to look in the mirror and maybe look and see that, all right, am I putting them in the right positions? Do I need to do that? How do you feel like you guys are prepared for those moments?
I mean, I think as players, you know, you got to take responsibility, you know, for what happens on the floor. We NBA players, for a lot of us, it's not new to be out there at the end of games. You know, we know what it takes to, you know, to win those games, but it's not easy. You know, but obviously you can always look at what you're doing and see what's not working and try to adjust and, you know, pivot and look at other things. But I think right now it's a lot of things that we can control. We're just not doing good enough. And, you know, it just seems like we're in one of those stretches where it's like we're trying so hard, but it's not coming out in our favor. You know, we try too hard, we have a turnover, or we get a clean look and we don't make it. And, you know, we try to attack and, you know, it's just not bouncing our way right now. So we just got to be a little bit sharper. You know, we just got to tighten up in those moments, you know, both ends. So I think eventually we will, but we just got to stay the course, man. It's hard, you know, when you come out on the losing end and it feels like you could have done so many things better, but it does us no good to just be, you know, defeated and to turn it in. We just got to keep rocking.
This game in particular, you guys missed 13 straight in the game. Like, is that about the state of yours?
You said we missed 13 straight field goals to end the game. You're not going to win. You're not going to win if you don't make a field goal. You know, I think that's an easy one. You know, we missed 13 straight shots to end the game. You know, they was able to make them. You know, I think it was a tie game at one point, you know, so the fact that we missed 13 straight and we lost the game by, 7 points, 8 points or something, 9? You know, that's the game right there. You know, even if we're not making shots, we got to be able to get to the line. We got to be able to get some stops, you know, if that's the kind of game it is, and we just weren't able to.
Physically and health-wise, are you 100%?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't get any of the bug or anything going?
I did a little bit, but no, not really.
Well, he says he's 100%, so. But also, he could be 75%, and I feel like he'd say he's 100%. Like, they made the type to say he's not, you know? So, I don't know.
It's apparently windy in the locker room there.
I know. That mic was, not good, and that, Anyway. So that was Dame. Anyway, that was the interviews. I don't know why the audio was so bad on that last one, but it is what it is. So, anyway, I'm just reading chat now, and people are just ridiculous. Some like, I don't understand. Dame never takes responsibility is not true. Absolutely not true. He could say I was bad tonight. He takes accountability, man. He's never shied away from taking accountability when he plays bad. I'm starting to wonder if some of you guys have actually watched the Blazers for the past few years, because it seems like some of you guys don't know who Damian Lillard is, which is baffling to me. Like, y'all overreact and, like, completely lose sight of, like, who this dude is, and it's silly. Like, I don't know. There's a reason I asked you guys to take a deep breath at the start of the stream. Some people probably weren't here at the start of the stream, but, like, I know you guys won't agree with me on everything. I try and teach you guys to think a little bit more logically, even if that means that you'll come to a logical conclusion that's different than mine. I don't care, just as long as it's logical. But, like, saying Dame never takes accountability is just ridiculous. Like, that's not true. Do I have to make a highlight tape on Twitter to show that he does? Like, do we not know who Dame is anymore?
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know. If you don't know who Dame is as a person, then I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, but people have all these wild statements about Dame when he's struggling, and it's like, oh, if he was just making shots, then all those wild statements would be completely different. Like,
you told Zach to take a deep breath at the beginning of the show, and he hasn't. You didn't tell him to exhale.
well, I'm impressed that you're still typing, Zach. So you got the lungs of a lion. You can breathe out now and start breathing on your own. Is what I will tell you to do, so that you don't die. Of course. Chris Brandlin, member for 11 months, says Dame is the epitome of a team leader. Come on, people. I agree. Thank you, Chris, member for 11 months. Yeah, people just hating on Dame too much, man. It just don't switch up so easily. Or maybe I guess it's people that might have always hated on Dame, but don't quit on a dude that's been this good for this long, this easily. Anyway.
Blazers for Life said the Wolves game, Dame said the exact thing, that he played bad and needed to be better. So maybe
Literally
just go back
last
and look
game. So
Go
yeah.
back.
So like you guys can. That's the thing is, oh, well, you don't like when people disagree. You guys can disagree. I just don't like people that just say stuff to say stuff and stuff that isn't true. That's the type of stuff that drives me kind of crazy. Like, or it's like people that just will if we don't make shots in the last 5 minutes of games, no matter how it happens, it doesn't matter if we have open three after open three or layups that we smoke, or no matter how it happens, they will automatically blame Chauncey. People say, oh, well, you used to always blame Stotts all the time. I mean, I would go back and watch things and blame Stotts based on what I watched, but there was games where it was like, man, I can't blame Stotts tonight. I came on post-game shows and said, man, I can't blame Stotts tonight. These guys got good looks down the stretch. Missed them. I had a problem when Stotts would say we missed shots when we literally didn't get good shots.
Mm-hmm.
And you just
some
use
of
that
the worst shot quality
yeah.
in the league, and it's...
Mm-hmm.
We're just missing shots. They just made shots even though they were wide open.
Yep. When did we ever have 30 assist games under Stotts in a game where we didn't have 100 points? Did we ever? Did we ever? We never moved the ball. We just settled for typical shots. That's the thing. Like with how Dame's playing, I couldn't imagine taking the types of shots we used to take. Would have been even worse. So yeah, I mean, patience with Chauncey. DJ Vega says Stotts had 9 years. Chauncey had 1.5 years in his first coaching stint. Yeah, I mean, just give Chauncey time to try and figure it out. If he doesn't figure it out the rest of the year, then my tune will change. You know what I mean? Like, if things get worse or, there's not progress on certain things that are under Chauncey's control, then you will talk about it. But, I mean, that's what the season's for. It's a process to figure out what this team needs, where this team needs to go. We're figuring out a lot about this team right now, I guess, and it's just that for some reason they don't have a clutch gene when at the start of the year they had a clutch gene. In the end, I'm not sure that's figuring anything out, actually.
Well, I agree with a New York Blazer fan who says we really just need to take care of the ball and we'd be fine for the most part. I still think your video is absolutely true that you put out earlier in the season. The one thing the Blazers need to fix, it still hasn't been fixed. It's still been an issue in pretty much every single game, especially the losses. So yeah, until that gets cleaned up, it's going to be hard to win a lot of games. Even if you're taking carry the ball down the stretch, just the fact that you're putting yourselves into a close game by not taking care of the ball in the first half is not really ideal to winning.
But like Dame said that he felt like they were maybe trying too hard at the end of games, and I'm starting to wonder if these struggles are becoming mental for this team, and they need a win. Like they if they could come out on Sunday and beat Toronto, and then they come home for 10 of 11 home games, that could be a good game for this team mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's like when you don't have the home crowd behind you, it's even harder to suffer through these mental, lapses and mental struggles. But like that's the thing is every team has had good games and bad games. Like every team has stretches where they play terrible and play good this season. Unfortunately, the Blazers have had not as many good stretches as they probably should have. But that's the thing. When they were the number one offense for like 3 weeks there, they were taking better care of the ball. We've seen it. They were executing well. It's just like that's the thing is everything is inconsistent with this team. Honestly, the most consistent. I don't know. Like, what's the most consistent thing about this team right now? Positively, maybe.
I don't know if it's a thing, but I'd probably say Jeremy's been the most consistent thing.
Yeah.
About the season.
Yeah.
Bravo!
You is playing an ad. Honestly, our defense is one of the most consistent things about this team. It's consistently average, but that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're consistent in having a lot of the same problems came out. I don't know if that's not a positive thing, but yeah.
I mean, it'd be yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is the type of team we would have had in previous years, and then like you know how we always go on those late season runs, and go from like 8th to 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like this could be one of those teams.
Like Boston last year.
Yeah, like I
Dallas,
still
Dallas too.
Like I am still optimistic in a sense, but
well, because like Dallas, I mean, they hired Jason Kidd. Everyone thought that was like the worst hire of last offseason, right? Even worse than Billups, even if you hated Billups. And they have one of the top defenses last year. They make it to the Western Conference Finals, and now their defense I don't think has been good this year, and they're having all kinds of problems too. They've been wildly inconsistent, reliant on Luka every game to bail them out. But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. Like, but you couldn't have criticized pretty much anything he did last year.
Yeah. I don't know. I view this as a process, man. Like, I didn't even get mad at this loss. Like, it was weird. It was like going into the final 5 minutes. I was kind of expecting our offense to just fall apart because that's what I've seen lately, and then it fell apart, and it's like, oh, of course, okay, well, whatever. But I mean, I used to rage at losses, dude. Like, I used to be so mad. I used to be like the people in chat that come in and say ridiculous stuff. I used to be that person like 6-7 years ago. Like I would have been the person that now I get frustrated with, right? And I made better basketball points than a lot of people that just come in here and kind of rage about stuff, I feel like. But you know, we'd lose a close game in overtime, and I would get so mad it would ruin my day. After this, it's like, okay, well, whatever.
Well,
like, it's just is what it is. Like,
see, there's just several factors. Like, whenever we say, like, this team is close to being really good, people say, well, Cronin gets a pass because he said that it's like a long-term process. It's not just this year. And then people like, but then say like Billups can't grow or whatever, like he has to be good right away. I don't know. It just seems like some people have conflicting things they focus on or their hatred. And I don't know. I still think if you have, let's say we hired a retread coach last year, like Mike D'Antoni was a finalist or whatever. Like, last year doesn't go any differently because, we had Dame injured and we traded most of the people, gave up on the season. And then, I mean, this year, like, our offense would probably be better, but our defense would probably be worse. So, like, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a case of we hired the wrong person. I think much like when you talk about trades, you go for upside sometimes with the hiring, and I still think Chauncey has a lot more upside than any other coach that we could have hired that had been a coach before. Now, whether he realizes that upside is still completely yet to be determined. But I mean, he doesn't have a lot of coaching experience, so there's still a lot of rapid growth he could have over the next year or two that he could be a really good coach still. I mean, if you love Stotts was terrible his first two coaching jobs, and was pretty good early on with the Blazers. There's lots of coaches throughout sports that were like that. Bill Belichick was terrible in his first coaching stint, and now he's considered one of the best coaches of all time, and if Pop doesn't get Tim Duncan, like, who knows if he's even considered a good coach, some of this is on the roster, and we've talked about how they only have 5 playoff level rotation players, and even fans are even questioning some of those 5. So it's just weird that people are, I don't know, putting it on like that Chauncey was like the wrong hire. He shouldn't have hired an inexperienced coach or whatever. That stuff to me is all yet to be determined. I don't think there was much he could do differently so far that would have this team playing at an elite level or anything. Yeah. Everyone knows this isn't a championship contending roster right now.
The process determines the result. Analyze the process, not the result. Mm-hmm. That's how I view things. So
yeah. Well, it's like when you went through this with like Connor and stuff. We go and play pickup basketball, and you're teaching them how to shoot.
Yeah.
And like people are, so like I'm going through that with my 10-year-old right now. Just is playing on an actual basketball team for the first time,
mm-hmm.
and he doesn't like know how to do a lay-in and stuff. And they're all worried about making the shot. Like, they don't care how it looks. They just want to score, But like the people who get good, repetition from doing it the right way, even if you're not making it, and eventually you will start making it, and you'll be better than the people who didn't have that repetition of doing it the right way and we're just trying to focus on making sure it went in the basket. And so I think that's part of what's at play here, is that they're still trying to figure things out, and they're still trying to hope that they can figure things out, and hopefully you get Gary Payton back and a nice trade at the deadline and have more options to help out as well. So we're not handicapped several minutes throughout each game. So I think there's still massive amounts of growth possible, but it's also possible that no one figures it out, and this team is just what it is, and we're 500 the rest of the season, or a play-in team, and maybe don't even make the playoffs. That's certainly looking possible and fair to bring up, but the thing is, I don't think there's anything when they play bad. I don't think there's anything showing that they're a bad team necessarily, or incapable of playing better. I still think they can play much better than they've shown in the stretch.
People just can't separate it. It's just whatever the team is showing them in the moment is what the team is.
Mm-hmm.
That's how some people view things, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we have, because somebody said we have a loser mentality or something because we're thinking like this, which I don't think this is I think this is the opposite, actually. I think coming in here and saying, this sucks, that sucks, everything sucks, we suck, blow it up, give me Wembanyama, I think that's the loser mentality. It was funny because Taylor had a comment says, typical loser mindset by Torrey. He should be breaking things and screaming on stream. That's what winners do. Which we've done in the past, but that's the thing, that's a funny comment, Taylor. Thank you. I love Taylor's comments, but yeah, no, I don't think it's a loser mentality. I think it's easy to sit here and just be like, everything sucks. That's the easy thing to do. I'm just trying to figure things out with this team. Like, I don't care if I come to a negative or a positive conclusion, an optimistic or a pessimistic conclusion. I've been criticized in the last 2 weeks for being too negative and being too positive. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. That's literally all I'm here for, is trying to figure out what's going on and then relay what I think to you guys, and then you guys can have a conversation with me and have a conversation with the community, and we can talk about this basketball team, good or bad.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern for me would just be in terms of Chauncey is like, I think he talks so much about being a tough team and being one of those scrappy teams that no one wants to play. And I do feel like we've gotten a little bit away from that mindset, and we're still too reactionary to other teams. So that'd probably be my biggest thing that Chauncey could still fix, I believe, within the season, is just becoming that hard-nosed team that doesn't wither when teams show pressure and things like that. And we're the ones, initiating the pressure and not getting pressured. So like little things like that, I do feel like I'd want to see a little more, because then I think you could tell if this team is capable of a little higher ceiling if we were seeing more of that on the floor. Because right now I feel like we're a little too basic in some of the things we do just to have like a championship ceiling with this roster. But, like I said, if you change a little bit of the roster, you get a guy like Gary in there that is known for some of those things that we're missing. I think it could fix itself on its own as well. But I do wish Chauncey kind of made his team play a little bit more like that.
Yeah, I mean, let's just find out where this team goes from here, good or bad. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that's why everybody that hates this team still keeps tuning in, is because they're interested to see what the result is, good or bad. I mean, that's part of the entertainment value, is the storyline of this season.
Troy, was it yesterday's stream where we talked about Ant coming off the bench?
I think so. If not, it was the stream before.
Yeah. So Chris G asks, someone is arguing Ant off the bench would be beneficial and move Hart to the shooting guard. What do you all say? We went off on that for like 15, 20 minutes. I think it was in our Blazers Uprise live stream yesterday. Chris, if you want to go and listen to why we think that's really stupid.
Yeah, I can go find the link. And then shout out Brian Tadovich, $2 dono, says, is Marshall a target? I assume you're talking about Najee Marshall. He's I don't see why the Pelicans trade him, because they're in win now mode and he's actually been solid. He's not the most efficient player, but basically he's like a better version of Justice Winslow.
Yeah.
He shoots 51% from 2, 33% from 3, shoots 3 threes a game in 23 minutes, averages 9 points, but can also play make per 36, averages 3.5 assists per game, can handle the ball a little bit, can play good defense. But he's a guy, Eric, that I liked in that 2020 draft. And if I recall correctly, he went undrafted. And we didn't pick him up. Could have had him easily.
Was the draft. We drafted CJ Ellaby too.
Yep.
Right? I think.
Yep, we drafted CJ Ellaby. Like, I remember kind of, I don't know how high I had Najee Marshall, but I thought he should have gotten drafted. And now he's panned out. I mean, there's been dude, like, I'm not trying to gas myself up or anything, but there's been so many undrafted targets that I've liked that have panned out recently. Naz Reid was one of them. Austin Reeves, did he get drafted? He was undrafted, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And if I did a whole video on like under the radar draft targets, and Austin Reeves was one of them, and I had Austin Reeves as like a borderline first round grade. I really liked Herb Jones. He was early second round pick, but I liked Najee Marshall. Lou Dort was a guy I thought should have went first round, but everybody thought he should have gone first round. He went undrafted back in 2019, I believe that was, the year we drafted Nas, and we were saying to pick him up. Me and you were talking about, like, pick that dude up. He can play defense in our first stream ever. So that's the thing, is good teams identify these players, turn them into role players. Najee Marshall's one of those guys that has turned into a role player as an undrafted guy, and it would have been nice to have just signed him instead of, drafting CJ Ellaby. But that's the thing. Normally they're older. Normally they're multi-year college players. They're not like a Greg Brown. Like those guys, sure, high upside, quote unquote, but that's just because he's athletic. What else suggests he has high upside other than his athleticism? I wasn't a fan of the Greg Brown pick. You got to stop. I think as GMs, you got to stop knocking these older players near the end of drafts because a lot of times they can end up being really solid role players.
Well, that's why one thing I'll give Chauncey credit for is last 3 games he's inserted Jabari Walker, or it might be 4 games, and he is second to last pick of the draft, but he definitely does a lot of the little things that this team's missing. He came in, was an immediate factor on the rebounding, and was just in the right spot several times of this game, was actually finishing in this game. And I do like that he has turned to him over Watford, who, I wouldn't say Watford's been like crap or anything, but he hadn't played well either. So I do like that Chauncey didn't just stick with firm rotations and went with someone who he wasn't playing a lot earlier.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about Jabari. Let's finish it off talking about Jabari. By the way, there's the link to that stream yesterday where we talked about the whole Ant bench thing for the person that was interested.
And DJ Vega, please click on that link as well after the stream, because he was talking. Y'all don't talk about trades anymore. That's like pretty much all we talked about in that stream. The last
you guys got to watch the second channel.
The last couple post-game shows, we've basically just talked about trades halfway through for the rest of the night. So yeah,
we get like 3,000 views per post-game stream. If this team was playing better, it'd be 4,000, 5,000 like it was at the start of the year. We only have 2,500 subs over on that second channel. I plug it all the time. But then it's like, there's so many people that want us to talk about stuff that we talk over there. Y'all don't gotta watch it live, but after the fact, like, it's more chill. It's not right after a game. If you don't like the picks against the spread segment, we got graphics for it. Just scroll to the part where the graphics stop. And then that's when we talk about other stuff. So, like, you guys should just subscribe to that second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Link in description below, as I always say, because we cover a lot of stuff that you guys ask about. And we get pretty straight to the point with that after the picks against the spread segment. Like, they're only usually an hour streams. Cyclone says, I'm curious about... I don't even know how to answer this one, but sure, I'll throw it out there because it's a Mariners guy. I'm curious about Andres Munoz from the Mariners. Can you give me an NBA player comp to him, Tori? If anybody in here knows baseball, give me a NBA player comp to him. Probably just somebody that's, like, super athletic. That's, like...
Greg Brown.
If they... But, like, they're, like, good because they're super athletic, where if they weren't super athletic, yeah. Shane Sharp isn't good. Like, Munoz is really good. Munoz is really good. So, yeah. It's tough, yeah. Because I thought Sharp too, but it's like Sharp... I wish Sharp was as good as dude, I can't talk. Munoz. I can't talk, but...
Derek Jones Jr.
Derek Jones Jr. DJJ ain't good enough, though. Yeah, it's hard to come up with a comparison for him.
He hasn't done anything in the big leagues yet, though, right?
Munoz? He was like the best, like the Mariners' best reliever last year.
I was saying to someone else. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he was good. He kind of struggled in the playoffs, but he was really good last year. Andrew Wiggins isn't, but like Andrew Wiggins, I don't know. It's tough. I don't have a comparison. I tried. Anyway. Maybe I'll figure one out at some point, but honestly, like Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton is who I'll go with. Because Munoz just has a really good fastball and like changeup. He's just like a 2-pitch pitcher. But like his fastball is dominant and he's good because of it. So like Claxton isn't gonna make many shots, doesn't make free throws, but he's like so agile and big that he's a phenomenal defensive player. So that's, I think, the best comparison I can come up with. And they're both young. So there you go. Nick Claxton is my comparison. Anyway.
But no, I think Jabari, I think you can make the case that he maybe even should be playing more than he is right now. He's our only capable bench player, and heard, I think this was Chauncey. Yeah, it was Chauncey who said a couple days ago that he likes playing players like Jabari with as many starters as possible because he just does the right things and
Yeah,
helps
they
them
fill the
out.
gaps.
And so I would like to maybe mix that in. I don't think the starters should be changed, but maybe sub Grant or Hart out earlier than normal. Put Jabari in, and then Hart can play with the bench unit a little more. I do like the energy he's bringing, and I do like his defense that he's providing out there. I think he's been doing about as good of a job as he can, keeping players in front of him and making good closeouts and things like that. So I definitely think he is.
Other than him breaking his own ankles today.
Yeah. Well, that was more like, I don't know if he was trying to play up the contact or something, maybe take a...
No, I saw the replay of his feet. He turned his foot down and tripped on the floor.
Yeah.
It was, but yeah, he's been good. He's
yeah.
been solid defensively. Yeah, it's just that play. Dang, Jabari, come on, man, you can't get your ankles broken like that. But nah, he's been good. 6 rebounds in 15 minutes, 4 of them offensive, 11 points tonight, 5 for 7 from the field. He's not really shooting threes, but he's just an energy guy. He made a couple great cuts. That's the thing. He could sit out there shooting threes. I accidentally cursed because I combined shooting and sit. Whoops. He could sit out there shooting threes, but those baseline cuts are there and he's making them, and then he finished them tonight. So I love that.
There were so many plays where he was just sitting in the dunker spot on the baseline, and we don't really have many players that do that.
Yeah.
It's such a good outlet, not only for dump off passes. If we saw a nice one from Ant to Jeremy Grant in this game in the first half, but he's right there in position to get offensive rebounds. I really like that. And when he is spotting up in the corner, he's doing better than anyone else on the team. A great job of recognizing when he needs to cut. His timing on his cuts are perfect, because if they're too early, it might not have the advantage. If they're too late, there's no passing angle. So I really like what I'm seeing from him on the floor. Just got to be a little bit, just got to take care of the ball a little bit. One of his turnovers was he got an offensive rebound, and then tried to pass to a cutting Nurk, but the pass is a little behind him. I don't really fault anyone for having a turnover if they got an offensive rebound, because that's you basically created the possession and then took it away, so it kind of washes out. But I don't remember his other turnover. But yeah, I just really felt like he changed the momentum of the game with this offensive rebound. Oh, that's right. He got called for pushing on a legal screen. Yeah, he can't. I mean, unfortunately, rookies are gonna get called for that more often than veterans. But yeah, just don't do that. But I kind of liked him in the short roll. He had a nice play where he attacked the middle of the paint and had a little dump off pass to Eubanks for a hook shot. I think you could, as his confidence gains, get him back to a little bit of that attacking mindset he had at Colorado, because he was really good getting the ball into the paint and scoring, whether it be from the mid range or setting up a teammate. So I think there are some ways we can improve there using him too.
When Justice Winslow is healthy, who are you playing, Jabari or Justice? Obviously, you can play both, but if you could only play one.
I mean, I'm playing Jabari. I have a feeling Chauncey won't, but hopefully the hope is that, Winslow might still be a couple weeks away from playing. So hopefully Jabari's just been so solid in that role.
It's just sad that hopefully Justice doesn't come back soon, because he might play over a rookie who's better than him.
I mean, I hope maybe that makes Justice play more small ball 5 and they play them both. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, I would take Justice's small ball 5 over our 5.
But this is why I want.
5 right now.
When we're the bench unit was struggling so mightily, and we had injuries earlier in the season. That's why I wanted Jabari to get these minutes then,
Yeah,
because I felt like by now he could have established himself as a confident and competent role player. And I think he's just scratching the surface of that right now.
Yeah, I mean, but still, I don't think any of the guys coming off the bench right now should be coming off the bench in the playoffs. Like, I know Sharp obviously is the future, but I don't think the plan should be to play him in the playoffs right now. He's just not he's not well-rounded enough. He's just not good enough yet. That's just the truth, you know? But it'll be awesome to see him in the dunk contest, by the way. I plan on streaming that, making graphics for that, and giving live reaction to that. That'll be fun. But yeah, none of these guys should be playing in the playoffs, in my opinion. Is where I'm at with that. But and the final guy I want to talk about tonight, like specifically that we haven't that actually played really well, Josh Hart. Dude, there's a stretch where Shaden Sharp took a charge and then Hart had a poster dunk.
Yeah. And then it gets subbed out and comes back in late and doesn't do anything the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was an awesome combination. It was great. But Hart 2 for 2 from 3 today, 4 for 4 in 36 minutes. He only shoots 4 times despite shooting 40. As a team, we shoot 40% from the field. Our most efficient shooter, 4 for 4, only shoots 4 times in 36 minutes. He made some nice plays. He had 8 assists and only 2 turnovers and then 10 rebounds, 12 points. Like, that's the type of Josh Hart we need. But I want him to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
That's why like I am down to get a small forward that's not as good as Josh Hart as a player, but just can play some on-ball defense and knock down some threes, and then you start him, and then you bring Josh Hart off the bench where maybe he feels like being more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned he's been one of the best finishers in the league as a guard, last few years. But this year he seems to always kind of turn and flip the ball up from his waist. You mentioned that, I forget if it was last stream or the stream before.
Yeah, last post-game stream.
And that's why I was so happy when he went up and dunked it, because that's the kind of attacking Josh Hart we need. Like, just get to the rim. If you're either going to get a dunk or you're probably going to get fouled on that. Whereas those other shots he was taking have a lot less likelihood of going in. You can probably make the same case for a lot of Nurkic's shots too. But I just want to see him have that mindset where he's going to attack the rim and not necessarily just drive in and hope he gets a scoop shot to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a question that says, do you guys remember at the beginning of the season when everybody, even us, was praising Justice Winslow? What was he doing right back then?
What? I mean, he had, like I mentioned, the Kings game earlier. I mean, he was really good in our first game of the season.
He had
so I
some
guess
good moments, but he was better defensively.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. He was fresh. Here's the problem with Justice Winslow. I'll explain it this way. He was fresh to start the season. He was actually playing like really solid defense. Okay. But the problem is he always ends up dealing with a nagging injury. He's injury prone, and those injuries that he ends up dealing with in the middle of seasons limits his effectiveness on the defensive end, and then he's so bad offensively that he just ends up being a bad player.
Yeah.
And not helping you win games. That's the problem. You can't trust him to stay like fully healthy 100% during a season, and that's the only way he's even close to good enough to being able to play. But the problem is, like, he still was not good offensively to start the year. The thing is, he just played defense and, made plays for, like, he still wasn't that good. But the bar for him wasn't high. The thing is, he played good defense. Like, first game, played great defense on Domantas Sabonis for stretches, right? But that faltered as he was dealing with an ankle injury, I think, before he had his latest ankle sprain, or he was dealing with something that was, I think, limiting him defensively. So,
on top of that, I've made this point several times. Teams recognized if he's a bully in the paint, he's a problem. If he's guarding on the perimeter and pick and roll, what happens? He's a lot less likely to keep a guard in front of him than he is, like Domantas Sabonis, like we mentioned, banging him in the post, right? So what teams started doing whenever he was in the game is just spamming pick and roll with whoever he was guarding, and then he would have our defense just auto switches, and we would have him all of a sudden trying to guard Jordan Clarkson instead of, Kelly Olynyk or whoever the big was in that lineup. And that's the problem. Like, other teams recognize that, and there's two early season stats that I think still haunt this team. One is that Jeremy Grant was actually, analytically good at guarding ball handlers in the pick and roll early in the season, and also that dumb stat that Drew Eubanks was like the best switch big in the league. I think both of those fooled the Blazers into thinking that was the proper way to play defense. And I think it's only been recently that Chauncey started to figure out that those might have been just mirages, that were just small sample size early season things that, as teams learned how to exploit, became severe disadvantage for us instead of advantages. And unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of personnel to fix it right now. That's why I'm hoping for a healthy Gary Payton and a trade.
Yeah. Taylor Packer says, I remember there were a good chunk of fans who wanted Justice starting before the season began. Dude, that was so baffling to me, Taylor. I just never understood like the love for Justice. I mean, like, as a basketball player, he just isn't good. Like, he's just insanely inefficient. And when we got him last year, I was just saying, like, oh, he's not good. But then he fits in with the starting lineup, plays some defense, and it's the first time we played defense almost all season long. And then we win a couple games, and it's like, oh, look how great he is, because we were used to just the worst defense in the league at that point. So anybody that came in and played any sort of defense and could make the right pass looked amazing, because we didn't have that at all pretty much all season. That's the problem, is when you are struggling with something, anybody that can remotely do it looks amazing, and you don't even, like, oh, well, we got guys that can make shots. We don't need him to make shots. Like, you don't consider his impact on floor spacing or whatnot, or just him not even being able to, like, cut and finish around the rim well. So, he'd never have a dunk like Jabari had today, where he cut baseline and, like, kind of dunked, through a defender, So I never understood the Justice love. I never thought he was a good NBA player. He's not the guy you want playing in the playoffs. He's just inefficient. And, he's just not good enough defensively. It's like you got a 6'5", 6'6" guy, whatever he is, and you have to play him at a center spot for him to be effective defensively. That's not an ideal defensive player, in my mind. That's like a guy that if he could defend that, but then also defend guys his own size, defend a shooting guard, small forward consistently.
Well, I think he's too big, I think, to be quick enough to guard those guys.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But he's only effective as a small ball center if he's big, though. So
you got a 6'6" guy that can only defend like some bigger power forwards and centers. That's not ideal. Because then he's not rebounding like a bigger power forward or a center.
Yeah.
And he's not finishing like one. And he's not even shooting like one. Because he can't shoot. So, yeah, I don't... If Justice comes back and he plays, and then after the deadline he's still in the rotation, my tune will be much more negative in regards to this team. I'll just say that right now. So.
Yep.
Anyway, anything else you want to cover or answer from Chad? Or?
No, I just appreciate everyone for watching tonight, even though the game sucked. And got an early game, 12:30, I think it is, on Sunday.
I hate those.
So we'll have the post-game show at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon for Pacific Standard Time. Hope to see you all there, and thank you so much for watching.
Yep, thank you for tuning in, making us a part of your Friday evening. Blazers finish off that road trip on Sunday. Hopefully we'll see you. Hopefully GP2 will play. I have postpone the podcast about him because he hasn't even been playing, so I haven't been in a rush to upload that, but I will upload that tomorrow as Saturday's an off day, and hopefully GP2 can come back Sunday because we kind of need a spark of energy. Even though it's the offense that continues to plague this team, they missed their last 13 shots to end off this game, 2 points in the final 6.5 minutes. It's the same thing that's plagued this team. So hopefully the Blazers can fix it. It's just very strange how bad offensively they've been in fourth quarters, despite being good defensively. They can't take care of business at the end of games. So yeah, we'll see where this team goes from here. Anyway, apparently you can go over to Suns Valley Podcast and listen to Gabe rant right now, so I might have to go do that.
Suns losing to the Heat right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Suns are in the same boat as us right now. They can't win a game, and this team is only a game and a half out of fifth. That's the thing. Just figure out the offense late in games, which is certainly doable, and you're winning some of these games, and you're looking a lot better in the standings picture. So we'll see if they can do it. They might not be able to. I don't know, but it's just a process, and we're along for the ride. Along for the ride. Anyway, this has been the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show presented by BetOnline. Remember that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% rewards. We're out of here. We'll catch you on Sunday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.